On this episode of the OG and Crab Show, the Pirates are going streaking in all different directions. It's trade season, the deadline is coming, and we need to discuss it. And the Nationals just fired their general manager. Are the Pirates next? Play me a song, Crab. Thanks for joining us again here on the OG and Crab Show. I'm OG, and sliding in next to me, my buddy Crab. How's it going, Crab?
Good. I'm back.
Good.
We're back. We were away because we're, lazy, bad at this.
Yes. We do this when we can, everybody. You're welcome.
Yeah, it's just like a garage. We're a garage band of podcasts. We jam, and that's just to get out of the house. It's basically like that.
Except we're in our house.
Right. Same energy though. So
Right.
what's going on tonight's episode? We got some Pirates baseball to talk about, unfortunately.
Pirates are streaking, and if we had recorded like 3 or 4 days ago, we wouldn't know what to do with ourselves because they would have just finished sweeping both the Mets and the Cardinals, and they swept the Cardinals without allowing a run in the entire series.
I know Greg Brown told us many times.
Big deal. Big, historic.
Huge news.
Historic.
It's
historic.
Donnie Ball come alive in team form. It's if Donnie Ball were 9 guys on the field, that'd be the Pirates from the Mets and Cardinals. But then what happened?
It's all coming together. And then it all fell apart because they got on an airplane, flew out to Seattle, drank too much coffee, and just got swept themselves without scoring a run themselves in a 3-game set up in the Pacific Northwest. They lost the second 2 games 1-0.
That's true Pirates baseball.
So the pitching is still delivering, and the bats have completely fallen off the face of the earth.
We buck and believe in that Pirates baseball, losing 1-0, wasting Paul Skeens outings. God, you got to buck and believe, baby.
So we got to do a heat check. We got to do a heat check because you have been rooting for the Pirates to lose a lot so that it will become blatantly obvious to Bob Nutting that he needs to dismiss Ben Cherington, and we can't afford to have them go on any of these winning streaks because it might trick Bob into thinking that maybe they're turning a corner and that he should keep Ben after all. So you must have been completely just inconsolable during that 6-game homestand where they won every single game and they were blowing out the Mets and just setting records left and right. And then compare how you felt then to how you feel today.
I mean, I'd like to think of the Pirates as like a Days of Our Lives soap opera. It's much more interesting to think about the internal dynamics of like, on tonight's episode, will Bob be confused by winning? It's like Falcon Crest or Dallas or something. It's much more fun to think about. It's infinitely more interesting. Will Ben Cherington defeat his nemesis? The budget. Tonight, we will find out on another riveting episode of Pirates Baseball, Losers Edition. I don't care. I watched it. I was like, oh, they're going to win a couple games. It's statistical noise. It's 162 games. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in 162 games. Every once in a while, you hit this little hot streak. I've seen it my whole life.
It's baseball.
I remember Adam Heisdu coming up and blasting home runs, and Rob Makoviak was the, 2 home runs on the day of Sun. All that bullshit happens all the time. So yeah, you had a nice little winning streak. It was, I have to say, man, that I was really like the Mets, man. You got to beat this team. I'm talking about the Mets. You got to beat the Pirates, the Mets. I'm thinking to myself, I'm starting to feel like Frank the Tank.
Mets, stop Metsing.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, what are you guys doing? You have a $10 billion payroll. Beat these losers and killed Ben We have him on the ropes. He's on the ropes. This is it. This is it. It's like Frazier and Ali, and we battling it out. And it's like, put him away. Kill this guy. Knock his ass out. Finish it. And he comes back in the umpteenth round, and he's taking more punches. It's like, God damn it. So I'm happy to see that they went out and they got back to their old winning ways. Let me put my losing ways. All right, Buck his head on for a sweep to the not getting swept, baby. Losing 2 games, 1-0 on top of it. That's the Buckin way. That's the Bucko way, and that's what I Buckin believe.
They got to go play the Royals and the Twins to wrap up this road trip that takes them into the All-Star break. And
the Royals. My son was like, the Royals, Dad. They're going to play the Royals.
Royale with cheese.
Royale with cheese. Yeah. That's the first. I said, where'd you learn that? He was like, I don't know.
Because the metric system. They don't have quarter pounders, so they have the Royale with cheese.
Big brain on bread. He's a smart motherfucker.
Well, allow me to retort.
Yes. This is now a podcast we're just going to quote.
I'm going to have to dig up so many clips of Pulp Fiction to lay over that.
When I drink coffee, I like to taste it. When Bonnie goes shopping, she buys shit. Deep cut from later in the movie. Pulp Fiction, everybody. If to all you youngsters out there, you might have to look an old movie up and watch an old movie. It's a 30-year-old picture at this point in time.
Yeah, we can't just assume everybody's seen it at this point. It's old. Still holds up.
It does.
Zed's dead, baby. Zed's dead. So, well, I mean, yeah, they'll do they need to lose these next 2 series to like put the nail in the coffin? Will that do it? There's a dude in the Discord we hang out in that insists that he's got a mole on the inside that
do not expose Deep Throat. What do you we don't talk about Fight Club.
Names.
The first rule of you're gonna jinx it.
All right. I'm not gonna jinx it.
Let's just say this.
The only thing happening on July 15th is the All-Star game. That's the only thing happening, right? Just the All-Star game. Paul Skeens is in it.
Suffice it to say, if the losing continues and Donnie Ball is winning those games is not sustainable. It's just not. It was fun.
Not the way they're doing it. They're stringing hits together. They're hitting with runners in scoring position, which sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. They're still not slugging.
Right. That's just statistical noise. Hayes getting, some bloops and some blips and some blops to drive in runners, like, is perfectly normal for the way that Hayes kind of hits the ball without authority. And sometimes they sneak in, sometimes they go over the guy's head. Most times, often than not, they don't. But during the winning streak, and I was watching Hayes' at bat, and I went back and watched a couple, and I'm thinking to myself, it's the same swing. Like, nothing's changed really. I mean, it looks like the same guy up there, same approach. That's just luck, baby. It's noise. So, I think that if they continue to lose, hopefully maybe once the draft is over, for some reason I think Bob maybe feels like he needs to keep this regime through the draft. Maybe after it's over, you pull a Washington Nationals, you fire your guy, get a placeholder in there, and then clean house in the offseason.
Yeah, so that's interesting that you mentioned that. The Nationals did just fire their GM, Mike Rizzo, who has been there for quite a while. I don't know if you have like the beginning of his tenure looked up as your screen reflects in your glasses there, but
yeah, I was like, I should really look this guy up if I'm going to talk about him.
When did he get hired? He's been there at least a decade, I think.
He has been the general manager since 2009. So It says he was the general manager in 2009, and then he was general manager slash president of baseball operations from 13 to 2025. So he's been there like almost the entirety of the time that the Expos have been in Washington.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's been the guy. He's the one who got them to the World Series. They won the World Series in 2019, and he's the guy who let Bryce Harper get away, and then they won the World Series. He's the guy who ultimately traded Juan Soto to the Padres and brought back a haul of what is now the core of their rebuild, and now he's looking for a new job. So does that augur well for our hopes of finding an end of the line for our general manager?
I don't know, but I want to just say this. I'm reading his Wikipedia page, and it's an interesting quote that says, quote, in a span of roughly 26 hours from July 29th to the 30th of 2021, Rizzo and the Washington Nationals acquired 12 players via 6 trades around the trade deadline. Those 12 players included blah, 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 blah. The names aren't mattering. But I'm just reading this, and I'm thinking, my God, you're allowed to make trades at the trade deadline and acquire 12 players? That's amazing. It's crazy. Can you imagine Ben Cherington doing that? Because I certainly can't.
Well, I mean, that leads us into maybe the big topic of the show is the trade deadline is coming. It's July 31st. And we've been asking, will Ben Cherington be here as the GM for that trade deadline to potentially do something stupid, or maybe not do enough, or maybe do too much, make a mess? Or will he be gone and the prudent, probably, at least I think, thing of just see what you can get for these rentals and regroup, get yourself a new GM, and if you are going to deal your Kellers or your Hayes or your even Reynolds, that is something that you do over the winter. Those are not deadline deals. Those are wintertime deals. What do you think?
So we're done with Rizzo, right?
And I mean, you can, if there's anything else you want to add, I'm
no,
turning
the only
it
thing
over.
I wanted to, yeah, that's fine. No, I'm going to ruin the segue because I'm terrible. I didn't go to broadcasting school. The only thing I wanted to finish on Rizzo was that, there seems to be a lot of folks in that Nationals fan base that are really happy to see him go. And, he went all in on Scherzer and Jason Worth at the beginning of that 10 years, Strasburg. And, they had, and around Harper, who's a generational player, they went for it several times, and they had a nice core, and they got unlucky, right? Yep. But then they punched through. On one of their down years, they managed to get some luck, and they won the World Series. And so, when it's all said and done, it's a pretty good track record. And I think that the goal of sports is to win games and not screw the pooch and mortgage the future, but it's also to win the World Series or win the NBA Finals or win the Stanley Cup or whatever. So, he did that. So, good for him. So maybe he'll be the next Pirates general manager. Maybe this is like a retread. Bob's like, I'll just hire that guy. He's a retread. Apparently, I was reading that they didn't invest. There's no scouting. Their scouting apparatus is lousy. Their analytics is lousy. Their human infrastructure, all the stuff that Ben takes a lot of credit for, that Bob and Ben talk about, is this, we're investing, we're spending the money. I guess the Nationals are woe in that area. They don't have a lot of it and so I think this is probably where they're going to start kickstarting that forward. So, and
you wonder how much of all of that investment in player payroll that got them that World Series, did their ownership say, okay, we got it, flags fly forever, let's find a way to tighten the purse strings a little bit. And
that's fine. I would you not kill for if we had a World Series?
Are you kidding me?
Let's say we won, if we had won in 13, 14, or 15, let's say we punched through one of those years, one that And we could say, well, but we have 15. We saw it. We experienced it. Like, as a Steelers fan, I grew up listening to the 70s Steelers, and I got to see two. And once you see two, you're like, wow, okay, this is like really cool. Then it's kind of like a different vibe around the Steelers. I like the Steelers, still root for them, but I don't feel I want them to win. But like, because I saw it, same with the Penguins,
Yep.
So it's kind of like,
once you've tasted it, you're like, okay, I'm satisfied. It would be cool to get back there someday, but it's not that I've never seen it. And even with the Penguins, it's not like we saw it in 91 and 92.
Yeah, when we were little
kids,
boys, we saw it, right? But we got to see it again as adults.
Right. And that was really great. And we got to see it 3 times as adults. And that was really, really great. And so that's precious stuff. And instead we had 2013 through 2015, and we still get all of the bad parts where it's as if they won it all and then tore it all down, and just now we're still down there in hell. So I mean, of course,
with the Nationals thing, if we won in 2019 and they were like, hey, we're gonna spend a little less, like get rid of these oldsters, like these vets, and like cut the payroll and rebuild, I'd be like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude, great, good, cool, let's, I'm cool with that. Yeah.
And outside of the Dodgers and Yankees and maybe the Mets, that's pretty much what every single, I guess maybe the Red Sox, I don't know, like you can't really tell what they're doing, but like there are very few places that can win a World Series and then keep the pedal to the metal.
In baseball, it's like super hard.
Yeah. Like,
right.
They get in, and like if you're like the Diamondbacks, you can see them like they're desperate to get back and get over the top, and it's not looking good. It's not like it's looking like it might not work. They went out and spent all that money on Corbin Burns, and he blew out his elbow. And what are you going to do? The Dodgers, they go out and get a bunch of guys who blow out their elbow, but they've got like 7 more so that they don't care.
It's all luck. Baseball is it's all about luck. It's so much statistical noise. There's so much, 1v1 stuff in baseball. In hockey, you can still, Crosby at the end of his career, Ovechkin the same, but like theoretically, you could still see those guys on playoff teams going deep. There's still stuff around that you can build around. Like nobody would want like a Ryan Zimmerman and a Strasburg to keep playing and like sign to these monsters. So in Washington, like you won, the Royals, they won. I've seen 2 fucking Marlins World Series titles in my adult lifetime. Like
with 2 separate teardowns right after.
Right. Like I would take one of those. Absolutely. I would take one of them. I would just take a 2014 Royals World Series appearance for the Pirates in some respects.
I would take a pennant. I really, really would. Like I've never seen that in my lifetime, and it would be so crushing to see them get to the World Series and not win it, because you'll basically never have another chance again. Like that would be it. It would be like the way we felt in 92, knowing that team was going to get picked apart and that it was over, and we didn't know how long it would be terrible. And
well, the adults all knew. I didn't know.
Who was saying that this is going to last for 20 years back then? I don't think very many people were maybe it'll take them 6 or 7 years to get back, and unless I don't know. Maybe somebody was saying they're never going to do it. It's going to be a generation or 2.
Well, I don't know if it was that stark. I do remember like hearing adults talk about, but as an adult going back and rereading that history of that time frame, and in the books and stuff written about it, there's always newspaper quotes and so on and so forth. It does seem to be that there was a realization in Pittsburgh, at least, that was a core that was pretty special, and we were unlikely to see something that special again. And perhaps, without cost certainty in the game, there would be some trials and tribulations. Did they say 20 years, possibly 30? No, but everybody I think knew it was pretty bad after that. Right.
Yeah, you don't get Barry Bonds on your team every day.
No. But like even to get to the World Series and lose, it would be like the old quote, you know, better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. And you know, that I would take that. Honestly,
I would
take
absolutely take a pennant, as much as it would sting to know that that's the best you're ever going to see. It's still more than I've ever seen, and so I would take that over not, of course. So anyway, we're trades.
Now we're doing trades. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
I just wanted to finish with the Nationals thing. Like
you ruined that segue. All right.
It's all right. We're back to I remembered in my brain, my big brain.
Yeah.
I remembered it.
So it's trade season.
It's the worst time of the year. It's the worst time to be
and best time of the year, because everybody and their brother is out there chattering about trades that they think should happen, and they're the worst ideas ever. And we're hearing recently, Noah Hiles of the Post-Gazette posted an article over the weekend talking about what they're hearing, what rumors they're hearing as they check in with other team executives, what they're hearing from their little birdies. And basically it boiled down to that the Pirates have sent up flares and have hung out a shingle saying, we're open for business. Come make us an offer. You can make us an offer on anybody not named Paul Skeens and Andrew McCutchen, is what was reported, which means that Ryan Reynolds and O'Neill Cruz and everybody else, if you have the right package, we're willing to listen. And so, of course, when this gets reported, everybody freaks out and takes that as,
my garbage is the best. It's the best. It's like going to a garage sale and you're like, what do you got? And it's like a broken VCR and you're like, I'll take the VCR. It's $5. No, that's a perfectly good VCR. Just need to fix it up. Dude, it's broken. It's legitimately broken. I don't even have cassette tape.
Might be fun to fix.
Yeah, I mean, that is how everybody feels about their stuff at this particular time. And these trades are always like, hello, trade partner, would you give me all of your good players and take all of our bad players? That's a great trade. And they're just like, they type that on the computer and they're like, hey, listen to this, OG. And you're like, crap, don't put that in writing. It's a terrible idea.
Well, and the problem is you get that stuff reported in the Post-Gazette, and instead of hearing what it really is, and I'll get to what it really is, everybody freaks out and thinks they're tearing down. They're going to trade everybody away, even the guys who are kind of good, and they're going to get nothing back. It's going to be a bunch of guys in A ball. That's another conversation. But they don't intend to trade the entire 26-man roster away except for Paul Skeens and Andrew McCutchen. They're not trading 24 players away over the next,
I don't know, Mike
3
Rizzo
weeks.
Traded like 12 guys in 20 hours one time.
He got 12 guys. He traded away major league players and got back a bunch of slapdick
I'm just saying, maybe it could be done. It could be done. Not with that attitude, it can't be done.
Well, they got to play the rest of the season. But so this is what this is.
Do
they? This is what this is. I believe the reporting. Like, there's no reason not to believe the reporting that this is the Pirates just kind of sending up flares. And the reason they're doing it is they're trying to assess the market. They want to know, what can they get if they move a couple of guys, not know which guys those are. It'll depend on what people are willing to give them for those guys. But they're just out there just making sure everybody knows, listen, you can have almost anybody. What will you give us for almost anybody? And they're using this to just assess the market. That's all this is. They're just gathering intelligence.
Yeah, this whole thing reminds me of like whenever you go to like a store and they have like, you know, there's like bidding sites or something where they're like, you can get a PlayStation for 20 cents, and the guy's like, I got a PlayStation for 25 cents, and you're like, and then you're watching and you're like, that could be me, so I'm gonna go to macbid.org or whatever the heck it is. That's how they are they're like thinking like I might be able to get O'Neal Cruz or Paul Skeens or Jared Jones from the Pirates for 25 cents. And they're thinking about going in like other teams. And the Pirates are like, we'll give you Andrew Heaney.
The Heen dog. He's a good starting pitcher. You need one of those.
We have, okay, you're interested? Okay, you want Cruz? Cool. We like Cruz. Great player. How about counterpoint? IKF.
Tommy Pham. He can see now.
One Tommy Pham with prescription eyewear included, with a little card from the optometrist that has his prescription on it now, so he can take it to his next team.
He's been hitting ever since he got those contacts fixed. I'll give him that. Maybe he should have. I don't know how that condition of his functions. Like he's apparently just constantly at eye doctors, like chasing the next prescription. So I'm not going to make fun of it, but I mean, good grief.
So I don't. Yeah, I don't know like the markets. I'm aware that the Pirates are going to put out an offer, basically saying we're open for business for the entire league to see who comes a calling, and they should, and that's due diligence. It's perfectly normal. It happens all the time. I'm of the mindset that, you know, the next great Pirates team is going to be centered around probably Connor Griffin, right? Even though I'm not really following these younger guys because they don't, from my perspective, like until they're in the major leagues hitting home runs, I'm not super gonna put a Rorschach on them about
Connor Griffin is in his first year of pro ball right now and was recently named the #2 prospect in all of baseball by Baseball America. So he's making noise.
Sure, and he's probably going to come up and be a major league contributor and a really good major league player. But we need 9 of him to all do Connor Griffin things at the same time for the same pre-arb 3-year period in order to have a puncher's chance. So, you know, Brian Reynolds and Brian Hayes and I'm trying to think who else, David Bednar, Santana, IKF, all Pham, all guys that should be traded will not be a part of that next great Pirates team. And so if it was up to me, I would just rip the whole Band-Aid off and face the facts. This is not, to quote Neil Huntington, this is not the 1927 Yankees, as he said about Jason Bay and Xavier Nady 20 years ago, and just rip the Band-Aid off and be done with it. Now, I think that that's not going to happen because there's so much public perception about the Pirates. Like, you know, they'll get dog walked on the Pat McAfee show, and Dayon's website will be going ape shit, and the Reddit message boards will be going ape shit, and you know, the Fan, they don't even know what a baseball looks like, and all of a sudden they'll be like baseball experts for a week. So yeah, they can't really do that.
They've been hearing for a year now, you've got to build around Skeens, and we've of course like tackled that topic and kind of thrown it out. They're gonna try and cobble something together, even though it's very clear that there is no core here. There just isn't.
Right. I mean, I know that, like, as far as trades go, you know, Brian Reynolds, let's say, he has a no trade list of 6 teams. So, you know, most of the teams that are on that list, the Yankees, Blue Jays, Mets, Dodgers, Giants, and Padres, I would suspect that most of that is for like tax purposes. It's also for leverage purposes, because if you have a no trade clause and then the Dodgers come a call in and the Pirates say, hey, would you waive this? You know, maybe you get a concession from the Dodgers to go there, you know, something that they'll sweeten the, you know,
yeah, that kind of stuff does happen.
A family suite, or like something for grandma to come to extra games, you know, because she wants to see Brian playing at Dodger Stadium, whatever it might be. So all those things could be worked out, but like, do I think that the Pirates can move him? Maybe. Do I think that they might have to do a Liriano trade dump kind of thing? Also maybe, and I don't think that's ideal. I think it's more likely that Hayes gets moved, but again, he's literally one of the worst offensive players in the major leagues who has a plus wins above replacement because he's that good. He's Brooks Robinson with 0 bat. Like, so
what works in Hayes' favor is that his contract value is so low relative to like the cost of a defensive replacement for the Yankees that you could imagine the Yankees saying, "Yeah, we'll take Brian Hayes and we'll put him in after we've got a lead." Like the Pirates think of Brian Hayes as this like foundational piece because we spent non-zero money on him, whereas the Yankees are like, he's making the kind of money that you pay a bench player. Like who cares?
DJ LeMahieu makes 2 times as much as him.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So like they would be taking Hayes strictly as a bench piece that they would bring in as a defensive replacement and be very glad to have him because he's still good at that. And yeah, sure, he might like knock in some runs every once in a while, and he might, it's like, oh yeah, that's Charlie's kid. He's, he'd be an okay fit there. Reynolds is tougher to move because he's got a lot more money left that he's owed, and is very, very quickly looking like he's tumbling down the aging cliff. And his no trade list are all of the teams that could reasonably absorb him being non-productive on what is it going to be, like $15-16 million a year. Like that's not an expensive bat if you're producing, but he hasn't been. So even though that when that contract was signed, it seemed like and was hailed as, oh, it's kind of a team friendly deal. It's like, well, only if he keeps playing like that, and he hasn't.
And it's also right. It's team friendly in the sense that there's surplus value to flip.
Mm-hmm.
That's also team friendly.
So speaking of surplus value,
fans don't think that way though.
Mitch Keller, arguably, maybe factually, has the most surplus value of any Pirate that is on the trading block, at least according to that article in the PG. So Mitch Keller has 3 years remaining in his contract after this. It's he's got an escalating pay scale where it goes from, I want to say he's at 4. I don't have it open. I want to say he's $15 million pitcher this year, and then 16, 17, 18.
Yeah, he's $15,411,000 this year. Next year will be $16,911,000. 27 is 18, 28 is 20, and so on and so forth.
So the reason he's valuable as a trade piece is because his performance as a starting pitcher who consistently goes more than 5 innings and consistently posts quality starts is like, if you want to go buy that on the open market, it costs 25, maybe even $30 million a year. So there's a lot of excess surplus value attached to Mitch Keller because he's under contract at the terms you just listed, and so you trade him, and you can actually hope to get something back that isn't just a bunch of maybes, a bunch of lottery tickets, the kind of stuff that you get back for the rentals, the kind of stuff that we expect to get back for IKF and Andrew Heaney and Caleb Ferguson and on and on. So Mitch Keller is a valuable trade piece and is presumably going to be in demand because starting pitching is always in demand, whether it's at the deadline or just in general. But this is where the motivation for the Pirates is very, very important. If you're the Pirates and your stated goal is we're going to continue to try and piece something together here, if you think you can somehow salvage this and somehow put together a winning roster in 2026 or even 2027, you can't be trading Mitch Keller for the next O'Neal Cruz, or you can't be getting A-ballers back who might 3 or 4 years from now blossom into superstars. You need to be trading Mitch Keller for, unfortunately, the type of player that doesn't get traded. And so the names that you'll often hear batted around for Mitch Keller, Boston Red Sox outfielder Wilyer Abreu. He's in his third major league season. I think he was a rookie eligible last year. So service time wise, he's in his second year of pre-arbitration. So he's got a lot of cost control left. He's got a lot of surplus value of his own. He got a gold glove last year. He's hitting 40% above league average this year.
He's hitting 20% above league average.
Oh, okay. I'm misremembering. Excuse me.
That's
so
okay.
He's hitting above
His slugging
average.
Percentage is like 49% though. So that's
he's
good.
a lefty bat. He's one of the surprisingly few lefty bats who would hit more home runs in PNC Park than he does elsewhere right now. Like that's the StatCast will tell you in Boston. So he would be a really, really good pickup. But guess what? The Red Sox aren't going to trade him away because he is gold to them.
Yeah, why would they trade good young players? Like, why?
They won't, and they don't. So even though Mitch Keller is a really good trade piece and a really valuable trade piece, this isn't a video game. It's not the show. It's not Out of the Park where you get to play GM and all you have to do is satisfy the computer algorithm in the game. Like, am I giving you enough surplus value to get this guy back? Yes. Okay, very good. Ship it. Right. It's not how it works. Right. So like fans like to sit around and come up with guys who would be a good value fit. And yes, Wilyer Abreu would be. You could also look at Jason Dominguez from the Yankees as potentially that kind of guy.
Ugh.
Yeah, Jason with 2 S's. Yeah. He's very young. He was a rookie last year as well. He's got a lot of control left.
18% above league average.
Also hitting above league average. His defense is atrocious. His base running is not so good. So I wouldn't want him as much as I would want Wilyer Abreu as a fit for the Pirates. But he's another example of this kind of player who you're not getting. The Yankees are not going to trade him away. From their cold dead hands, you can get Jason Dominguez. Just like from their cold dead hands, can you get Wilyer Abreu? Yes, it is a fair trade. You're not getting him. Those players, like modern general managers, they know that those young cost-controlled players that have the slightest track record are they're the most valuable thing that they have. They need that guy on their team to keep winning. If they start trading those guys away, and you'll hear the argument in Boston, like, well, they have all these prospects. I mean, you don't know if they're any good. We heard all this hype about Christian Curtis, like he's going to be the next big thing, and he's back in AAA. Like maybe someday he will be. But you can't just assume that just because they have these top prospects, like they've got multiple top 50 prospects banging on the door of the outfield in Boston, okay, they're still not going to send you Wilyer Abreu. You know what they will send you? They'll send you who they've already shipped out. They'll send you their discontented giant contract slugger they just sent out to Sanford. We talked about it on the last episode.
Oh, Devers. I forgot all about him already.
Yeah, Devers. They couldn't wait to trade him because they found a taker for a giant contract that was going to be an albatross in 3 years. And however good he might be for the Giants over the next few years, the Red Sox were eager to unload him, even though he was their best hitter at the time. Why? Because the surplus value wasn't there. That's how the GMs think. They're just thinking about this stuff in like sterile, like algorithmic fashion.
I mean, some are. I mean, it takes creativity. It takes the ability to make a sales pitch, and I think, you know, even if you wanted to get, let's say you really wanted Abreu, I'm just gonna settle on a name, then you got to sell that to Craig Breslow, really sell it to him. And Noah Hiles's article Talks about how there's a little subheading called "Outside His Comfort Zone." And it speaks about how I'll quote it, multiple sources have expressed that Cherington has long been known as a tough general manager to do business with due to his continued habits of overanalyzing potential return and, at times, overvaluing his own assets. Other sources have echoed similar sentiments about the Pirates' general manager, although their reasoning has been mixed. Some argue that Cherington feels pressure to save his job, while others suggest he believes the team is only 1 or 2 moves away from having a more complete competitive roster. So it's like, okay, Cherington is both unwilling to be bold and make a sales pitch, wine dine in 69 one of his compatriots in the industry to get something he really wants, in which you will have to give up stuff to get things. And so he seems unwilling to do that. And he also feels pressure to save his job and trading away Pirates that have been long tenured and that the fans, we don't have much to root for. So like guys like Brian Reynolds, it's like my nephew wears a Brian Reynolds jersey, really likes him. I'm sure he'd be sad to see him get traded. Like, so this is like a no-win situation. And what it tells me is like, it's all going to come down to we're trading the rentals. That's all we could get out of the door. And I don't really think this big trade that people are wish casting into this, like somehow the roster will be saved somehow. What are you going to get more Spencer Horowitzes? Like,
look what it took to get him. They had to trade a major league starting pitcher,
right,
and 2 more pitching prospects to get back Spencer Horowitz, who, well, an
84 runs created plus right now.
He's scuffling. He's scuffling coming out of his injury plagued early part of the season.
But my point is that was a lot, and it's going to take a lot to get things, and all you're doing by doing this is robbing Peter to pay Paul. And we saw that a general manager who felt pressure to save his job about a decade ago, it didn't end well. And I don't know if this is, and all it comes down to, all this stupid fucking narrative drama. God damn, we've been talking about it. God, fire this guy. We should have fired him back in October. Now we're looking at this whole big conundrum of stupid bullshit with Cherington having all these bad options in front of him, and he can't make a good choice. What is he going to do? Nothing. Or make the wrong choice. Do you think, OG, more likely we're going to get impact our pre-arb bat from the Red Sox, or do you think he will be he'll Archer us? Which do you think is more likely? We get Archered, or we get Abreu or some nice package, roster making package?
I don't think any of the big contracts get moved at the deadline. I think that is a wintertime deal, and I think, if it wasn't evident from my little diatribe there, I think that what you're seeking when you're trading Mitch Keller, you're not getting it, so you don't trade him. You don't have to trade him now.
I agree with you. I don't think they're going to trade him either.
Right. So I don't think they're going to find like Reynolds. Reynolds, like you said, is like a Liriano contract. You're almost having to send prospects with him to like unload him, or you just keep him and hope that he bounces back.
I think they'll keep him and do that because, as we talked about, the Pirates have a fetish for like, we pay you, you will play, regardless.
Hayes, I could imagine Hayes if they can find somebody. Like I talked about the Yankees, and they've been reported as having expressed interest. I think if they could move off of Hayes, all things considered, that's one that I could see go. But that's the only one. Everybody else who gets moved this deadline, this is my personal prediction, is the rentals. You're going to see IKF go. You're going to see Caleb Ferguson go. You're going to see Andrew Heaney go. And you might see Adam Frazier go too. I don't know if somebody wants him.
The only caveat to that is, so you're saying no, we won't see two things.
I don't think we'll see. We're not going to see an Archer trade insofar as we're not going to see a trade that we like a big splashy trade that is exciting in the moment, and then like the following year we're like, oh no, what did we do?
Reality sets in, and we're like, oh my god, I can't believe we did this.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's going to be a lot of froth and noise and shouting, and at the end when all the dust is settled, it's just going to be a boring, this is what you of course you should have done those things, and maybe one or two of them yield maybe a guy. Like there's not going to be a lot that comes out of this, probably, because we're not trading Jazz Chisholm the way that the Marlins did last deadline and got back a nice package, and Augustin Ramirez is now down there like dropping bombs left and right and doing well already. I mean, think back to the Marlins last trade deadline, how they were, talk about a fire sale. They did what everybody is like all worried about happening here. They traded everything that wasn't nailed down, and now they're doing okay.
Yeah,
like,
that's called
all of a sudden.
Right, because it's really cool to have a bunch of young players going up the aging curve that are paid cheaply, that can hit the ball at the same time for a 3-year window together, 4 years maybe 5, depending on the core. But like that's what I want in my cold black heart. Okay, that's what will make my Pirates love spring eternal. Hanging on to this roster does not spark joy. It does not spark joy for me. Now, to go back to what I was going to touch on with the trades, I think that part of the problem with this trade deadline is going to be the fact that Cherington is going to have to share his homework with the group, and that means Nutting and maybe Williams is just like kind of like a guy who stands behind Nutting and nods every once in a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the little kid next to Scott Farkas and Christmas Story.
Yeah, but like he's gonna be in the room, I guess. And there's gonna have to be a sales pitch made to Bob about why this needs to happen, and I'm not sure Bob is gonna sign off on this stuff. And hence I don't think it will happen. And I think even if I agree with the Reynolds, or not the Hayes thing, I can see that definitely, because that's cheap. That's $7 million or whatever. That's okay. The rest I can see. The only other thing I could say to this is that perhaps Bednar and Santana are a different bucket.
Yes,
and
I was
so
going to bring them
bucket up. Is maybe one where you could say to Bob, you know, these are relievers, Bob. I understand, but like relievers are more fungible. Like we, you know, while Bob may not be hands-on, I mean, he's not completely.
He's been around the game.
Yeah, so he's seen analogous type trades hand or hand for Melanson and Grilli. Just you get them, they're hot, you use them, poof, they disappear. So I can see maybe he might buy into something like that. And Williams will be like, yes, I think it's a good idea, Bob. But for the rest, I don't.
And you can get some cool lottery tickets for both of those guys, Santana and Bednar.
Might even get more. Right, we could get more Bednars for a Bednar.
Yeah, and that's not nothing, because Bednar is going to be in his final year of arbitration next year. He's probably going to be making something around $9 million. And so if you can get the next David Bednar, if you can get the next closer who makes less than $1 million because they're pre-arbitration, that's a lot of cash saved that you can allocate elsewhere, which I will remind everybody that even if you did ship Mitch Keller, and even if you do ship David Bednar, and you save all of $20 million, that does not buy you an impact bat. Correct. It does not. No. It will. You can lie to yourself and go hire Tyler O'Neill with it and tell yourself that he's an impact bat. And then when he's on the injured list and you're Baltimore, and you have a worse record than the Pirates half the time this season, big deal.
It's atrocious for them. Yeah.
Like,
right.
People talk about the money that they save from list off the guys that they're spending money on now that they get rid of, that they can go and now they can go hire. Like, no, they're not going to go get Kyle Tucker unless they can scratch together $40 million for just that one contract every year, which they don't have, won't have, and aren't going to do. So you aren't fixing this with free agents. You're just not. The free agents that you can get with the cost of a Mitch Keller are not good. They're not.
Can you give me the record of the Tampa Bay Rays right now?
Off the top of my head, no. Yeah. But I do know that they are just a gnat's nose out of first place in the AL East.
They're 49-41. Would you trade places with the Tampa Bay Rays right now, record-wise?
Oh, absolutely. They're winning.
Great. Now, name me 3 players. Name me their left fielder. Name me their right fielder. Name me their shortstop. Can you do that? Who's their big money contract? Who's the guy that sets the standard there that everyone wants to be around him in the Tampa Bay locker room, and he's a leader, and it's like you need a gritty glue guy. Name him. Name one.
They don't have that thing that you just mentioned, and I can name some Rays. I don't know if I can name them position by position.
The guy name a couple Rays for me.
Probably the most noteworthy name on the Rays right now is Yandy Diaz, but he's not on some long extension. He's just like nearing the end of arbitration or whatever, like mini extension they gave him to buy out arbitration. Like he's not Brian Reynolds. He's not this, like they didn't throw a flag in the ground around Yandy Diaz. Now, the guy that they threw a flag in the ground around was just convicted of
that's Asian history anyway.
Sex
it doesn't matter.
in the
That's
Dominican
not the point
Republic.
I'm making. The point I'm making is that we see these teams lap us. Let's do the Marlins. Let's do Marlins time. Marlins time, everybody. Marlins record. Marlins are 40 wins and 48 losses. Would you trade places with the Marlins right now? You're the Pirates.
They seem to be ascendant. That's a coin flip. I don't know. I don't think I would trade places for the Marlins situation because they might be the only team in all of baseball in worse financial shape than the Pirates.
That's fine, but my point is that these teams do not have a Tommy Pham on their roster. This team does not have a Frazier on the roster. Xavier Edwards, Jesus Sanchez, Otto Lopez, which is a fun name. Kyle Stowers. Like, these are just like guys that came up. They're all youngish players. They were all drafted 2019, 2020, 2021. They were all acquired through trades and developed internally, and now this is the window. You open the window, this is how it works, right? So like I just still to this day, I know we're supposed to be talking about trades, I want to trade these guys, and I just want to start doing these types of windows. And when a guy comes up for a big extension, I'm tired of the shrill Yinzer shrieking about how you just gotta pay that guy. He don't get no money. Bob don't spend that money on non players because he's like cheapskate. Like, I'm tired. Just trade them at their highest peak and keep that system revitalized until you have a core in a window where they're all kind of coalescing at the same time. And we're gonna end up seeing teams like the Rays with a guy named Jake Mangum.
Jake Mangum. He's having a good year.
What is he? Where did he come from? You know what I mean? Well, let's find out. Let's just find out. What
are the origins of Jake Mangum? Is he a rookie?
His MLB debut.
I remember he killed us in our series against them at the beginning of the year.
March 30th, 2025. So yes, it appears that this was his debut. He was traded to the Rays in a random trade that none of us paid attention to. And let's find out more about his WRC plus is 113. He's worth 1 win above replacement thus far into the season.
What was the trade? I want to know how they got him.
It was a trade on December 8th, 2023. Mangum was traded to the Rays as the player to be named later for the trade that sent Vidal Brujan and Calvin Foucher to the Marlins. Do you remember those guys? Do you give a shit about those guys?
I know I've heard Vidal Brujan's name before, and that's the extent of it.
Right.
It's nobody.
Right. But yet this guy has a very similar stat line just off the top level numbers. Now, I know he's not an electric player like O'Neal Cruz, but he's got about the same wins above replacement thus far into the season that O'Neal has. He's got the same WRC plus.
Cruz is hurt.
And yeah, but my point is this: the Rays find these guys everywhere, develop them. That's a system that we should be emulating. Instead, we're talking about Tommy Pham's fucking eyewear because we never learn our lessons. We are still the same stupid, backwards, myopic team run by a skinflint, hillbilly, West Virginia, guy who's can't find his tie and still doesn't understand how his sunglasses turn dark outside. And we just do the same things over and over again, and we're doomed to repeat. We wonder why they suck, because we refuse to get bold and just rip band-aids off and try something different. Our rebuilds are always stunted because we have to recycle Andrew McCutchen and Adam Frazier, and we gotta instead of trading Reynolds when he was like an Isaac Paredes type, getting a Christopher Morel back, we had to sign him. It's so important, OG. We have to sign them, or else I have a big sad. And now we're talking about trades that are stupid with a general manager who's a dead man walking. It should be, but probably won't be, because the aforementioned loser owner with the biggest loser. This is loser energy. You yell at me about why you don't understand loser energy and how it's not a real thing. This is it. We are it. We are losers now for talking about this. We have loser energy. The answers are do the opposite of the things you've been doing and take a different tact. But no, we can't because we're afraid. And now we're going to run it back with the gang in year 7. Instead of Mike Rizzo's getting fired, he won a World Series in recent times, and that organization saw it fit to let him go. And yet we still have to give Ben Cherington more time. I just don't know. Sarah Gallus, super important. Must be worrying about Sarah Gallus. Steve Stroh, Steve Sanders, Brian Stroh. I don't know. There's some words. They're just words. I don't remember them all. They're all losers, but we have to worry about their careers. And Baseball America said they were great hires, OG. And that's important. More important than winning ball games. More important than acquiring Jake Mangum.
Well, I mean,
find me guys like that.
That's what they're supposed to do. And they've been on the job for a year. So I don't know how long it takes them to find a Jake Mangum. But that's what they're supposed to do.
I'm just amazed by a guy, Jake Mangum, just shows up and he's like, good. He just hits. He's like, okay, he's hitting. He's good. He's a pretty good ball player. Like, good decent offensive player. Is he a superstar? No. Here's another guy, Junior Caminero. Great
Junior
name.
Caminero is a name I know, and that's a guy who was getting a lot of hype. I know that he was. They got him in a trade with Cleveland.
For what? Let's find out. Wikipedia Junior Caminero. Let's find out what the old Wikipedia machine has to say. Signed, but with the Guardians traded to the Tampa Bay Rays for pitcher Tobias Myers. Do we remember Tobias? Does he have a career still? He's with the Brewers. So he was acquired in a trade for Tobias Myers, and now he's good. And yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. This is frustrating to me because we're like, mewing and complaining and about Reynolds, Keller, Reynolds. Ugh. I'm frustrated. We've been off the air for too long. I got a lot on my
Yeah,
mind.
you got a lot to unload. I'm just letting it go. We're coming up on an hour here, so that's probably enough trade talk since we've still got weeks to go for the deadline. That's probably a good place to pinch this one off and let it float. So thanks for joining us on this episode of the OG and
Junior
Crab
Caminero
Show.
Hour. The
You
Jake
can
Mangum
find
variety show.
if you're watching on YouTube, you also want to find us on your favorite audio podcast platform. All of our feed links are in the description. We're listed on Apple, we're listed on Spotify, and it's a podcast. If it's a podcast player, you can play our podcast. It's an open format.
Do we still work on iPods?
Yes. If you have a functioning
I have one.
old iPod and a functioning and you're using, like, I don't know if Apple Music's, or if, like, if you have an iPod that your Mac can sync, or your PC, I don't know, do they still have iTunes on PCs? If you have a functioning computer with iTunes or Apple Podcasts now, since they got rid of iTunes, yes, it will work. You can sync it down to your old scroll wheel iPod from 2006 and it will work. Isn't that
Great.
cool?
I'm gonna put it on there and give it to my son. My son uses the iPod. It's great use for giving it to
He'll
a
love
10-year-old.
listening to this stuff. I'm sure he's super interested in hearing you rant about Tommy Pham.
No. Here's that too much. All right. Well,
That's it for
that's
this
the
one.
end of the show.
Like and subscribe, or
Don't do it. I don't care. Trade everybody and break up the 1927 Yankees.
go get me Willie Abreu, Ben, to whatever it takes. He's the key. He's the answer.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's like,